Self-storage will never be the same again, as far as those that are trying to get into it and operating in it. What I'm about to show you is new. This is something we have never been able to do in the industry, and it's game-changing. You see, in self-storage, most real estate, commercial real estate assets, when you're doing market analysis or when you own an asset in the industry, you're taking in data to understand what your rates should be, what your occupancy should be, what other financial information you can find to understand how you should buy, what you should pay, and how you set up your pro formas, what might it look like in the future, as well as understanding what your net income would be. What should we set rates for? Both street rates and in-place rates. All this in storage was a guessing game, meaning occupancy and rates. We guessed, or we did research, meaning we did things like secret shopping, where we went around to competitors to try to understand what their occupancy was, how many units they had available, and we tried to understand what the rates were. That's because in self-storage, just because they say they're selling a rate on a website doesn't mean that's the rate they're charging. You see, we have two different rates. We have a street rate and an in-place rate, where the street rate may be $90, but the in-place rate, or the actual rates that they're getting charged, is $150. Well, how do you underwrite if you don't know what the real rates are? Today, we now have a way to find occupancy, rates, and financial performance on competitors. Okay, let me walk you through this, and I'm going to tell you how this is being accomplished. And it's crazy. I have never been able to do this in 20 years in this industry. This is information that was unobtainable. Look at this data. As you can see right here, we have U-Haul, and this U-Haul is located in Indianapolis. Now, we are going to look at this and its performance, meaning we're actually looking at the financials for this facility. We have our base rent, other income, the real estate taxes, property insurance, payroll benefits. We can actually look at and see here, based upon the years, how their rates have changed, meaning their revenue. Has the revenue gone up? What's happened with their expenses? And actually see how profitable this location is. We don't own this location. This is a REIT. Now, let's say I'm looking at a market, Dallas, Texas. What I did is I exported the data and put it into a chart. What data did I put in? Right here, we are looking at the occupancy for individual storage facilities in that market. We have everything from StoreQuest to Grizzly Storage Company to Extra Space, U-Haul, and more. And we can actually look here at the dates, and we can see the occupancy and the occupancy change of these individual assets within the Dallas market. Now, I can go into the mapping feature and actually look at this individual market and look at the actual occupancy level of these competitors in this market. How about a breakdown of the rates? Well, in this Dallas, Texas market, we can look at Public Storage, CubeSmart, Extra Space, and more, and we have a breakdown of their rates and the rate change and what that results in a revenue per square foot during that time. So how much revenue are they generating a square foot in this real estate? So how much did those rates change? We can actually plot it out, and we can see on a per square foot basis from 2020 to 2026 how these competitors in this market performed, what their average per square foot rental rate was during this time and how it changed. Now, let's take those same competitors and let's plot the competition out on a market of those individual facilities. Let's take a look at the occupancy, their two different rates, their web rates, as well as their street rates, and we can plot it out over this time and we can see performance. Once again, this isn't data that is scrubbed simply from the websites to show what they're doing because that obviously is not public information. You can't go to their websites of an individual location in Dallas, Texas, and see what their financials are. We can't go look and see what their taxes are or what revenue they're actually getting. The best we could do was look what their online special is on a given unit and then try to guess at the whole. This is actual. We can export that data and break it down by the individual competitors like Extra Space, Devon Self-Storage, we have more, Access Self-Storage, U-Haul, StoreQuest, and more. We can look at what their physical occupancy is, and we can see different ranges as well as the dates on this information. So you're interested in a marketplace. Well, now you can break down the facility's financial information, their revenue, their rates, and occupancy to understand that market and what's happening in it. You can even do a breakdown of the individual financials from the competition in that market. Okay, if you're in self-storage, you already understand that this is wild. This is a game changer. Something that I think most people didn't even know that we would ever be able to see or find out. This changes the way that we operate, the way that we buy, that we analyze markets. This is transparency at a level that was unimaginable before. But now the question is, how? How in the world are we getting U-Haul, Extra Space, Devon, and more actual financial information? Where is that coming from? Now, you see, this is where the genius of Tracked IQ came in, because all of this is being provided to us by Tracked IQ, which is a public software service that anyone can join to pull information, research assets, and markets for self-storage. So what did Tracked IQ do? And before I get to explaining this too in depth, I actually have a podcast that's a full hour long with the CEO, Noah of Tracked IQ, that we launched this huge information and update, which all of you can check out. So make sure that you go here and check out that full podcast so you can understand more. At the end of the day, what Tracked IQ did is they went straight to the source, not straight to the companies, straight to the financial source. What is that? The CMBS market. You see, when these companies get loans, they get non-recourse loans. These are put into packages or bonds, and these bonds are sold on the marketplace. That's how financing works in commercial real estate. Non-recourse loans companies get, and those loans are then sold to investors. In order to understand the integrity of the loan, that financial information of the asset that backs the loan, because it's not personally guaranteed, has to be given so they can understand the performance of the asset that backs the loan. Make sure that everything's okay. That is all aggregated within these bonds, which these bonds are then rated by the health of the underlying assets that back them. So what Tracked IQ did is they went to the bond market and they took this public information, they dissected all of the information within the bonds to find out the individual assets, where they're located, pulled the financial information and occupancy, exported it using their software, and then broke it down to be publicly available for all of us to use. Ingenious, I know. There's so much to go into. We've already been using this function for a little while now to analyze markets. It gives you a perspective that is game-changing when you're trying to buy. Instead of going in blind or secret shopping, to actually know the performance of the assets, to know what the real occupancy, revenue, and rates are. Think about trying to go get a loan with the bank or give information to investors. How will this asset perform? Should I buy in this market or should I not? Is this location doing better or worse? Where are real rates going? Not just the web rates, which don't mean a lot, but where are rates going? Where have they been? Where is occupancy? which competitors are doing good, which ones aren't. All of this information we now have thanks to Tract IQ. You can learn more about this not only in the podcast, but we put the link below for Tract IQ. If you're in storage, this now just became the standard. If you're looking to invest, this is information that will now become necessary. I'm talking about investors, banks, and everybody in between are going to want to see this. Obviously, why wouldn't they? And as far as making good decisions, once again, this changes it from guessing to make even more sound financial decisions. Understanding the markets, where the assets are, and what you can expect by buying into that market. Also, what you should be paying. Tract IQ is not paying us to say this. And as full disclosure, yes, I am one of the owners in Tract IQ because we believe in it, and we have for a long time before this ever came out. As of right now, this is the only source to get it in, but it will become standardized. This is something that other asset classes like hotels have readily available. In fact, the hotel industry has this on a daily, nightly. They have occupancy and rates that are published for everyone to see every single day. Other asset classes have this too. Self-storage has lagged behind in this data transparency, and it has left large gapes and holes in the markets to where we didn't really know what was going on. This makes the entire industry better, more effective. It makes more sound investment decisions. It's better for operators to know how to operate, what to place rates, where to spend marketing dollars, and how to compare overall financials. We're obviously very excited about this because what it means to us as operators. The markets that I showed you and went over are markets that we are actually buying in. And we have locked up assets that we've been working on for the last 5 months. We used in part this information to do the analysis on those assets. So before you buy and before you invest, you've got to go check out all this information, even get on to start playing around to do market research. See the power of this, what it can do. And to learn more, make sure you check out the podcast. Also, go visit Tract IQ.